So now that we're in the HSL/Grayscale tab, HSL stands for Hue, Saturation, and, you guessed it, Luminance. What this allows us to do is it allows us to select specific colors, or more specifically, hues, and shift them around to their neighboring hues based on where they lie in the color wheel. All you have to do is look at the colors in any one of the many sliders, I think there's 8 of them in there, to see the limitations of each one. Unlike the hue saturation feature in Photoshop itself, you can't change red to blue, but in Photoshop you can. Once again, this is a limitation, a deliberate limitation, I may add, by Adobe to save you from yourself from going overboard and ruining your images in the Camera Raw interface. Similar to what happened in the sharpening. Remember in the sharpening, the highest amount that we could actually raise our sharpening value to was 150 if I'm not mistaken. In Photoshop itself, we can, in the unsharp mask, we can go up to 500. And more importantly, the radius in the sharpening tab only went up to a value of 3. In Photoshop unsharp mask, we used to be able to go up to 250. That may even be higher with CS6. What I'm trying to get at is Adobe is trying to limit the damage that we may accidentally do to our images in Camera Raw. So we can only play with this within their limitations. Okay, so now the saturation tab allows you to either increase or decrease the saturation of the colors in your image based on their individual sliders. Remember that these are global adjustments and not local. So in other words, if I wanted to affect the blue up here, I'm also affecting the blue in here. I'm probably going to be affecting the blue reflection in the teal tank as well. And if there was a blue umbrella down in the bottom of the image, that would get affected also. The Luminance tab allows you to either lighten or darken the colors based on the hue slider in the dialog box. Very handy, very, very cool. And then you have the Grayscale tab here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Grayscale just so we can get to that one and over and done with. So there you go. We've created a Grayscale. By default, the application has come up with this as a meaningful translation. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see this. I'm going to come in here and choose Fit and View. There you go. And it's made a Grayscale conversion. You like it, you don't like it, doesn't matter. Move the sliders around, come back over, make some adjustments, all that fun stuff. I'm just going to get out of that. One thing I do want to mention about this is when you actually export this out, you're actually exporting out a one channel, a grayscale channel document. You will not have a red, a green, and a blue channel that have been turned to gray. You will have just one gray channel. So if you wanted to do some image manipulation back in Photoshop that deals with color or whatever, you may find yourself having to go under the image mode and then setting that to RGB. And then you can start doing some of your other stuff that you might want to possibly do. All right, so let's get back out of this and see how these sliders work. Well, you know, the hue for these guys, probably okay. I may want to change maybe the blues a little bit. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, but we can manipulate the blues just a little bit. Well, that's going into purple, so I don't think so, but I may want to play around. But here you go. You can see I've gone over to make purple. I can come over here and give it an aqua, so you got to be really careful what you're doing with these guys. I think what I'd rather do is come in here and work with the saturation. Notice that if I move my sliders to the right, I can increase the saturation. If I move my sliders to the left, I can decrease. I don't know if I really want to. Well, I may want to decrease the saturation a little bit in the reds and the oranges. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to set this back to, 280, right. All right, now put that back to 0. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to give that a negative and then go down 10, 20, maybe go 30, and then come in here, give it a negative value, and then go down 1, 2, and then I'm going to come back up here and possibly go back up to 20 and maybe 10 and then come back down to there and say, okay, I think that reducing, and I'm just going to turn this on and off, yeah, I think reducing that down to that brings it a little bit more realistic, if you will. Yeah, I think, well, maybe 5 and 10. Let's see. Click on that, go this way, there you go, not quite as overwhelming and all that kind of stuff. The blues, I don't want to play around with any of the saturation there, but I do want to play around with the luminance of the blue, and I think I may want to darken my sky a little bit. Isn't that nice? So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to, again, negatory, and then just put my cursor inside there, put the negative sign, hold down the shift key, and tap the down arrow to go negative 10, 20, or 30. I think I'm going to go negative 20. And that seems to work out well for me. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference. Subtle, but it is different. I like this. This, in a nutshell, is the HSL/Greyscale.